Nutrition and self-discipline and what qualifies me to talk about it. Well, I've gotten a little sidetracked off of this topic because I just thought of a basketball subject I want to talk about on another page. But so my topic I just gave, it's going to be more than one thing, but there's a few things I want to touch on. I've called this page uh, Health Nut Rehab Bob, I think it's what I called it. And I've done a lot of self-study. You can do a lot of self-study for nutrition, but I've done more experimentation than most people because, in part, because I have not been consistent discipline-wise. And, I've moved around, lived with different people, lived in different situations. I've lived even through homeless venues where people, where at times I've had to get food and it's not healthy foods. It's it's carbs. But sometimes carbs, you're hungry enough, you need carbs, right? So I don't buy into everything people say bad about carbs. I've studied every fad diet out there 20 years ago, every fad diet. But all the fad diets are pretty similar, right? I studied biblical foods all the way back to the early times. Okay, I haven't always had enough money to buy the foods I want or the places to cook where I want. So it's taken me a lot of trial and error, but I'm glad for that because it's given me time to learn more and learn more tricks. Because here's what our society has been since the 50s or a little earlier. We are a processed food society, and we grew up with Coca-Colas and everything else. And so you have to unlearn all these things in order to learn. But sometimes you want the convenience of processed foods, and that's not always terrible. So I don't buy into everything. They say, well, they put hormones in milk and all that stuff. I prefer not to have hormones in milk, and I prefer to have organic milk. I even prefer to have raw milk. But it's not available. I've promoted. I hope they make it legal again so people can have raw milk. They could have some pasteurized milk and raw milk, make and pasteurize it for the stores and let people sell raw milk on the side or something. Because it's not true that tuberculosis came because it was raw milk. When they made it pasteurization law 100 years ago or whatever it was, 80 years ago, I don't know when it was. But but it's better, my point is, it's better to still have milk. I'm going to drink milk if I can afford milk over chocolate milk, even if I'm being healthy minded. A lot of times I've done chocolate milk when I've lost sleep because it has caffeine in it. And so I'm getting my chocolate crave. I kind of crave chocolate if I've lost a lot of sleep. And so I'm getting my protein from milk. Best source of protein, one of the most absorbable forms of protein there is. So I'm getting milk, I'm getting calcium, I'm getting a multivitamin out of milk. It might have hormones in it because I can't afford to buy the organic brand. Yes, I say so I know a lot of stuff. I have a lot of experience, and I know sometimes if you can't do a certain thing, it's still good to do the lesser good product. So I'll tell you something people get confused while I'm on this subject. People get confused a lot of times. They're like, for diabetes and things, they get confused about there's too much sugar in juices. You shouldn't drink juices. They're not good for you. Natural juices with sugar, naturally sweetened, they're already sweetened naturally, just sugar in the plant already, aren't good for you. So you're scared to do it. I've seen so many people, it's weird in a sense, it's strange how it happens, that people are scared to drink juices after they've been taught this is a high sugar product, but then when they go splurge on a Coca-Cola, they splurge on an ice cream, but then they're scared to death to do the juice because they've been taught, well, this has high sugar, you got to watch out for this. Well, why don't you let your splurge be on that juice instead of a Coca-Cola or ice cream? And mix your juice with a little milk to dilute the acidic effect and to actually absorb, so your body doesn't absorb the sugar directly into their bloodstream, or know to eat some peanuts or eat something, not peanut, if you're not allergic to peanuts, eat some peanuts, or eat some nuts, other kind of nuts, and then do some milk and juice mix. All right, and that way it doesn't go straight to your duodenum or whatever it is that absorbs sugars directly into your bloodstream. But anyway, on a full stomach, you do a sugar product, so it doesn't go straight into your bloodstream. All right, so there's certain things to do, and I forgot a point, some other side point there. But you do, there's one more thing that people tend to do that's similar to that. Oh, it's with bread products. So they're like, you go buy some wheat bread at the store, and I've heard people get up, they're like, that's too much carbs. But then they'll talk bad about spaghetti, but then macaroni comes along, and they're okay with doing macaroni because everybody's doing macaroni. And that's a carb. And then they'll talk bad about carbs. Oh, I can't do carb. I can't do juice. I can't do milk because it's a carb. I got to take the bread off my sandwiches. It's a carb. But then they'll go and they're okay with doing honey buns. All of a sudden, it's okay to do honey bun. It's okay to do a biscuit. It's okay to do. I'm trying to think of some. I can't think. There's some that have popped up. I'm like, that's a carb. Come on. I can't do rice. Rice is a healthy one. Rice doesn't have the, what do you call it, for celiac? If you have celiac disease, hard to digest. It's hard to digest gluten. So rice is gluten free. And I've heard people make a big deal about rice because it's a carb. It's kind of a bad carb. It can get heavy on you. It's gluten free. So is corn. Corn is gluten free. I think oatmeal is gluten free. It's right on the edge though. So gluten's not necessarily bad. It's a harder to digest protein. If I recall that, I might be rusty on. But it's a harder protein to digest, right? And so it takes longer to digest. There's some advantages to that. The fact that it takes a while to digest, you could just eat a little wheat. If you're going to be out hiking all day and can't get to any food, then you might want gluten at breakfast. So, I mean, not if you have major pains from it or something, but gluten might be a good one because it digests slow. But the weird part is with gluten products myself, I eat them and I still want more. But technically, gluten's supposed to be a slow digester so you don't crave foods. But at least you know you have a carb, you have an energy source in your body that's still burning, it has calories that you're burning instead of starving. So in other words, if you want to go hiking all day, sometimes a gluten product might be good in the morning if you carry no food with you. That's the other side of gluten that you never hear about and should be assessed a little more. And but gluten is hard to digest, and some people can't tolerate that. And I think part of the reason that some people can't tolerate that is because of coffee, coffee products, tea products, stuff that dehydrates you, which dehydrates your intestines, and your intestines are the main part of your body. So it has a laxative effect, and it puts water in your intestines to flush you out, and that dehydrates you and your intestines. And so your body might, if you regularly dehydrate your intestines, you may have a gluten intolerance and a lactose intolerance from milk. That's part of it, and they don't talk about that. They act like, oh, it's just genetic, and then they want to talk bad about milk. Milk is the first thing God gives us when we're born is milk. And even the Bible talks about give babies milk for spiritually wise. And so they have milk because they're not able to understand the big things like meat. So your body you can't have meat when you're a baby. You can't have honey, I don't think, but you can't have meat. There's a few things you can't have when you're just a newborn. But you shouldn't have meat because it's too hard to digest. The milk is more absorbable. It's easier to digest. And so God created milk within a woman's breast, within a cow's breast, in all animals' breasts. And but I created the cow to have 4 compartments inside their stomach. I think it's 4, not 3. And I just realized recently they don't have 4 stomachs or 3 stomachs, but it's 4 compartments inside their stomach. Then it purifies milk and stuff. And so it was created by God for us to drink from the cow's milk. Sounds awkward, but it works. Same with the goats. And I haven't studied the compartments. I haven't refreshed my mind on that, the compartments of a goat's stomach, if that's similar to a cow or what. But we drink goat's milk, we can drink cow's milk. And so lactose and lactase, I'll just refresh you on this. Lactose, and because I do have a different view on this, because so many groups that are animal rights activists and stuff that pervert the views on animals and think animals and people are on an equal plane, and that they believe in evolution and different things. They say we shouldn't eat the cow, shouldn't eat meat, shouldn't eat, drink an animal's milk. Even some of them will say that. Well, the truth is, that God did create the cow for us. He created animals for man and not man for animals, and we are a different race from animals. The human race is human beings. We got different ethnicities from different languages, but we're all human, created after the image of God. We didn't evolve. And so, black people, white people, Asian people, Hispanic people, Arab people, am I forgetting Indian people? We're all human, all equally human. All came from Adam and Eve. All came from Noah's family after the flood. We got the ethnicities from God changing the language, and then we moved to different parts of the earth. And people who live near the equator, as far best I can tell, this part is, you could say, a speculation, but also observation of where people migrated to and where the darker tone skin came from. People who lived closer to the equator, so it makes sense that the natural plants and stuff near the equator had vitamins and minerals, vitamins, more to vitamin D to help protect their sun from the UV skin rays. And so I go out to get a tan. I don't take time to lay out and get a tan, but I go out and enjoy getting some sun because it darkens my skin, and it makes that, to me, that looks healthier. My skin looks healthier when it's darker. And a lot of people do that, and they're like, "Oh, you got a good tan. Your skin looks healthy." But if you overdo it, it hurts your skin. You can get skin cancer. But so people, though, that live near the equator for years, that's where dark skin came from, and we won't get off on that subject. But vitamin D, and but man is superior to animals, higher than animals. But man is not superior to man. No ethnicity is superior to another ethnicity. Whether one culture is better at basketball or football than another culture, or for the most part, and that's never 100%, because they're not that much better. They're within a human range of difference better, believe it or not. So I mean, if you got the person who's eating a good diet and stayed thin, runs a race against a person who's not watched their diet at all and is 100 pounds overweight, and they're from two different ethnicities, you can't compare how slow that one who is way overweight is compared to the skinny one who's not overweight, and call that an ethnic difference. You can do that within the same ethnicity too, and that would be a big difference in how fast that thin person is compared to the heavy person. All right, and there's a few exceptions to that rule, and they're talented people like William Perry, and that played football years ago. Refrigerator Perry, we call him. He could run. He was heavy, and he could run. He could do both. But he wasn't just sitting around not exercising. He was getting his exercise. All right. So, and he wanted them to be heavy for that sport. So, anyhow, that subject set aside, I guess I wanted to talk about. Did I want to talk more about lactose? Okay, lactose. I'll just finish that point. Lactose. Let's see, lactase is the enzyme in milk, and then when you pasteurize it, you cook it, you kill the enzyme. Anytime you cook something, you kill the enzymes. And so that's why a lot of raw foods are good, because you get the enzymes, which helps relieve your pancreas. Your pancreas doesn't have to produce so many enzymes to digest your food, so you're not overworking your pancreas when you're doing raw foods, okay? But it's not always bad to cook either, and I've heard this part explained from Dr. Weil. Read one of his books years ago. But when you cook the foods, the vegetables, you break down some of the things in it that are harder to digest, and it makes the vitamins more easy to absorb. So it's good. Vegetables are good to have raw and cooked. There's an advantage to cooked ones and raw ones. And I hadn't thought that through with milk, if that's the case with milk. But lactose intolerance might not exist in raw milk. If you had raw milk instead of pasteurized milk, you have the enzyme lactase that's not broken down into lactose, and people might be able to drink raw milk who are lactose intolerant. They don't talk about that, and they want to make a big deal and keep pasteurizing because they make money off it. But tuberculosis, I didn't finish this point, did not come. It came from poop somewhere, and they made a big deal about it and said it could come from raw milk, but it doesn't come from raw milk. All right. But I guess it could come from, there could be a risk of something not being sanitary, somebody having a practice and not maybe drop the milk somewhere. I don't know. They want to make sure they pasteurize it. I don't remember. I don't remember what they said that it actually came from, but it comes from cow dung, poop, not the milk, not just from cow dung, but anywhere. Some tuberculosis can exist in what's the word I want? Unsanitary environment. I used to work for a sanitation department, and I was trying to think of sanitation. But an unsanitary place is where tuberculosis can thrive, and I don't remember exactly the other ways it comes. But it's just a periodic thing that happens, and that's so they should allow us to have raw milk. All right, through certain venues. Okay, maybe they could have a regulated raw milk option, and then it's easier and quicker and more reliable to have pasteurized milk. I will say that's probably the case. So you can have more confidence in it anyway. I don't know if it's actually going to be the most reliable, but you do lose some nutritional value when you pasteurize the milk. Okay, so however, and then when you put hormones in the food to grow the cows faster and all that stuff, that's a different thing. All right, but we're not going to get into that. That's organic. You want organic milk to avoid that. All right, so it's not raw organic milk, but technically I prefer raw organic milk, and I don't know where to get it, but I'm not going to keep explaining that because of time. So dietary stuff. So I've been inconsistent. I've gained weight. I've lost weight, but I've done fasting. But it's hard to find time to fast sometimes, or because sometimes you need that extra energy. There's a couple times I've fasted where I've needed, where I've been able to sustain my energy anyway. But sometimes I've been zapped in energy-wise for fasting. When I had set a day aside to study, relax, or whatever, and it's not that hard to fast if you can do that and rest. And so, like, if you could sleep through a fast, that'd be really good. The best I've ever felt, after a 2-day fast or something, especially after a 2-day fast, is felt like I'm 19 years old again. I'm 53 right now, but I've done that and I felt that way. And I'm to a point where I've gained some weight pretty quick again, and I need to fast again for health reasons. And anytime I do fast for health reasons, I do also find, because I've set aside some time, be away from people. I've tried to do it around people before and failed it usually, or at least did it half a day and then couldn't do it when I've been around people. But when I've been by myself a few times and fasted, I succeed usually. And there's a few times I didn't when I was really addicted to sugar and thought I was catching up on some diet foods I hadn't tried and stuff. And I was like, had been in places I hadn't eaten the foods I wanted for a while. And then I went on a fast and I just didn't make it through the first day. And a few days later, because I'm like, I want to eat this food I bought. I want to try this food I bought, And I'm thinking, what if I die and can't eat that food? Which, that could happen anytime, but, it's me thinking, oh, I don't feel like fasting right now. So I've failed it to fast. I've given up at maybe dinner time and gave up on it. But those first few hours of skipping breakfast and lunch helped me. Or if I skipped breakfast and didn't make it through a lunch, I've decided sometimes I got upset and ate too much. I'm like, I broke it anyway, so what? But usually it can help you to at least cut back, see, if you do want to fail at it. But when you succeed at it, one day nowadays isn't good enough to make me feel 19 again. But one day of fasting is some progress. It's progress. Like if you have some blockages or you've built up some fat in your intestines, it probably helps unblock any clogs. I would call it clogs, where things digest kind of slow, because you've gained weight and there's some fat in your intestines and you're just back. You're getting bloated. You might feel like you're going to have a hernia. I've been there, and so one day of fast helps that a little bit, and it helps change your diet to where you have a little more self-control, perhaps. But I've also seen it to where only one day you can be like a little discouraged that you didn't get as much progress as you wanted, and you can go back to eating for stress. And you're stressed that it didn't fix the problem. But in 2 days of fasting, you fix a lot. I'll tell you, you just feel a lot better. If you can do 3 days, that's even better. But you might have to start worrying about getting cramps and stuff after 3 days, is my experience. And so I've done a 4-day fast before. That's the longest I've done in a row. And the longest fast I've done was 18 days on, but it was a fast a day, eat a day, fast a day, eat a day, fast a day. But I only ate lunch on the eat a days, and so I did 8 days, and that got rid of a gallbladder issue I had, or it helped get rid of it. Lost a lot of weight, and it was not hard because I ate ate a day, fast a day. Like, okay, if I eat, and the part of the purpose of that type of fast I created it, I did it, made it up myself, was, although some people could call that, what do you call it? Anyway, there's a name for it. There's people that do it, intermittent fasting. That's a little stretch. That's beyond the intermittent fasting they're talking about. But where you know, I don't know how to explain intermittent fasting because I came up with this on my own. But then I've seen that other people had come up with something called intermittent fasting that's similar. And so you skip a meal might be intermittent fasting. But me, I skipped the whole day of eating. Did fasted a whole day. Next day I ate around lunch or so, lunchtime. So my fast would continue through the morning. And so I'd start fasting early the night before the next day that I fasted and have more productivity from it, right? So it's, I didn't want to waste my time fasting and not eating. I wanted to get improvement, see productive improvement. So technically I fasted, was it 16 or 18 days? I guess it was 16 days, not 18, because I remember adding up that I fasted a total of 8 days with no food. And then, but technically all 16 days were a sort of a type of fast still, because it was still intermittent fasting for 16 days. So I was successful at it. I had some time set aside, almost, you could call it a vacation. So that's 16 days, that's 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 2 days. But it helped me immensely. And everybody saw me after that knew me, that I was around at the time. They're like, well, how in the world did you get so thin so fast? And they could tell it wasn't being an unhealthy kind of thin. Like if somebody had relapsed and been doing drugs, wasn't that type of thin. I was obviously feeling healthy, level-headed, and nobody even acted like it could have been something like that. And I was in an area where people do those things, where that's pretty prevalent. So I was living in a pretty poor area, I'll say. But so I've had experience with fasting, and I forget what I would eat. I've gone through different dietary things, but I'll go through that right now. As a matter of fact, certain things you can eat. I mean, if you want to skip carbs, sometimes I wouldn't say to do it all the way. I'm not into skipping carbs. In the Bible, the first thing God gave people was bread. A lot, and the first thing I crave, if I've ever been dehydrated on a super long hike and different things like that. If I've been in situations where I got dehydrated, I'm craving pizza or spaghetti or orange juice, frankly. So the orange juice or apple juice. Those are the biggest things I've ever craved when I've been in an extremely dangerous dehydrated situation. So sometimes it's usually before it's even food. It's orange. If I'm that badly dehydrated, it's orange juice or apple juice I really crave. I mean, and water, of course, but I really have a longing for apple juice and orange juice to rehydrate myself. More than anything. I mean, sounds like gold. It's like gold. Anyway, but I'm telling you, but also pizza and spaghetti. When it's time to eat, I want one of those things. So carbs, your body uses carbs. It's not a bad thing, but it's easy to overdo carbs, I suppose. And especially if you're not doing enough working out. But if you're hiking and stuff, you're getting pretty good workout. You burn the carbs off. They burn off. So if you get too much protein, your liver has to do a lot of work. If you're doing beans instead of meat for protein, your liver, from what I understand, your liver doesn't have to break down beans because it bypasses the liver. They're in amino acid form already. So the meats have a protein that your liver breaks down into amino acid form and then turns them back into a protein in your body or something like that. And so your body is overworked by doing meats. That's what's not good about doing too many meats, right? And then, so that's an issue with too much protein. So if you're doing the Atkins diet and just doing meat, your liver's going to work when you're doing that. So I didn't love the Atkins diet for that. I already knew that back when I heard about the Atkins diet. And then you have carbs, proteins, vegetables. I don't know if I've seen too much fault in taking too many. There is a fault in taking too many vegetables, by the way. Just thought of it, okay? Kidneys. You get too many vitamins, too many vitamins, too many antioxidants, your body, they can build up in your kidney, and your kidney has to process all the ones you don't need out. And so you can get kidney stones from too many vegetables. Now I've taken risks on that and it's not been an issue with me, but I back off it. For a short period of time, I'll take a lot. Feel like I've replenished myself, or I'm trying to fix something. I've had mosquito bites before, and I took a bunch of vitamin C's and it cleared them up pretty quick. And so I took a lot, 5,000 milligrams, 10,000 milligrams vitamin C, cleared up my mosquito bites quicker than normal, right? So I'm not saying for everybody to try that, but I've done my experiments, right? And so, I guess what I had started out wanting to talk about was how it is true that culture affects you, and people say, "Don't blame. That's your fault. Don't blame us." But y'all kept getting mad. If you've ever been around some people, they get mad if you don't eat what they eat, and then you're trying to eat what you eat, and then if you're visiting people or whatever, but they want you to eat this too and this too, and then they'll say it's your fault if you overeat. Don't complain to us. But I'm like, well, I can't hang out with y'all very much because look, it's too hard. Oh well, you can, you don't have to. But I can't stick to a healthy diet with y'all. I just can't do it. And the temptation. So some people, they're like, well, that's your fault. You're not disciplined enough. Well, no, it's okay if you're not disciplined enough. Just get away from them. And so get somewhere where you're not tempted. All right. It's okay to visit and do that sometimes. But if you can't control it, there's no shame in that, because a lot of people do keep coming at you and they forget and they don't care. They disrespect it. They think it doesn't matter. It matters what you eat. It doesn't matter what you eat. You're not supposed to be a glutton, and different types of carbs make a difference, right? And so before I go, I just touching on that and just I think I said enough for you to figure that out. But for anybody to figure that out that's thinking, but for time's sake, I'm going to go talk real fast about just basic foods. I'll give some basic foods that trick foods. You can get juice, and this isn't talking about organic or not organic, but you do look when you buy juices. There's one thing I know about juices, that when they pasteurize juices, I don't know. I haven't heard a real study on what it hurts in the juice. You still got the antioxidants. You still got, like, if they pasteurize grape juice with seeds, it has to have seeds. You got the grape seed extract in the grape juice, like Welch's, I think. I think it's Welch's for sure uses grapes with seeds, and they process it with the seeds. So you're getting some grape seed extract. But so you look at your juices, make sure they didn't add sugar and all this stuff. All right. So you're getting the real pure juice. But so they pasteurize it. That kills enzymes. It does kill enzymes. So the only thing you're missing, to me, I think, is enzymes. And there's something else to look at in there. Anyway, I forget. I'm not going to go deep into that because I'm out of time. But I'll mix grape juice with a little milk, or I'll mix apple juice with a little milk. I'll mix it with orange juice with a little milk, or you could do it with yogurt, right? And you can do that in place of doing chocolate drinks and different things that you have a sweet tooth for. So it replaces that, and you're getting good antioxidants. And then it's tasty with the milk. If you don't drink milk, you can drink the juice by itself or mix it with almond milk or something. But I've done tricks. It's really best to do plain almond milk and things like that. But I got to hurry here. I think it's good to eat broccoli. I think it's good to eat corn. I think it's good to eat peas. It's good to get sea salt. It's good to do things that you can do repetitively. That's easy and convenient, And then the thing is, when you put those things in your cabinet and you cook them, then you've defeated having to be disciplined, self-disciplined with diet, because you've already replaced other things. You've replaced things that can become negative if you do too much of them, that can be negative, have a slight bit of negativity just to do a little, by putting good things in their place that actually taste good and actually are good for you, always good for you. And so I like corn. Some people don't. I'll do vegetable juice. Sometimes that's my spaghetti sauce. Some people will say, don't forget spaghetti is a carb. I'll try to do the natural spaghetti, the whole wheat spaghetti and stuff like that. Let's see, I'm out of time, so I'm not going to finish this list. But water, I like spring water, but you don't have to do spring water. But spring water is alkaline from the minerals it has. And meats, do fish if you can, but It's okay to do meats sometimes, but beans are a good source of protein. That's about your best source of protein if you're not allergic to peanuts, but nuts are very good. Include nuts in your diet. But we got to go. All right.